I like to address hunting, eating meat, being a vegan, those kinds of things. You know, if we don't kill the animals to eat, we're going to have to hunt them because there's too many of them. They'll take us over. You know, so really killing them is not really a choice. And like I said in many videos that I've done in the past, you can't cut out evil in this world. And the more you try, the more you give it power. Just like when you ban alcohol, you ban cigarettes, you give it more power. You make it much, much worse than it's ever been. Confirmation. So if you ban killing animals to eat, you make the problem worse, not better. You know, look, I feel for those animals. If there's a more humane way to kill them, I would be for it. But I can't be for not killing them. Death is good. You know, there's certain things they can't do in it. They can't do to an animal. They can't euthanize it with chemicals and then feed it to you, because you'll eat those chemicals, and they don't want that. And that's why a lot of what the killing and the way they kill is very brutal, and you know, because they can't inject drugs, they can't do a lot of things that they want, or that would be more humane for the animal, but then useless as food. So that's the issue. And I know you see the videos of them killing the animals, and you say, well, I won't eat meat anymore then, and they won't kill anymore. And that's just not true. You know, a hunter who hunts deer during hunting season is helping to save the deer. And I know it's an oxymoron in a way that you're killing to save them. Well, if you don't kill them, they'll kill themselves. And because they'll starve. And in the winter, there's no foliage, there's no grass. And what little there is enough for the ones that weren't killed. And that way, come springtime, they're healthy instead of sick or starving or dead. But I know it sounds counterintuitive to kill to save, and that's what it does, you know. It's like euthanizing a dog before it needs to be euthanized. With the deer, you have to euthanize them before they need to be euthanized, because once they have to be euthanized, it's too late for many of them. You know, it's not a matter of one deer. It's too late for the herd. And by that time, they're all sick, and they all ate the food, and they're all going to starve to death. You know, which you don't want. So, you know, be thankful that we have farm animals, pigs and cows and chickens. By having that kind of a system, you know, we don't live off deer, we don't live off rabbit, we don't live off the animals that we consider wild, and that those numbers would disappear, and those animals would disappear if we did, you know. And by having cows and chickens and stuff, we're being selective of what we eat, and we don't hunt everything out there, you know, and that protects everything out there. because it's not on the menu. But look, I'm not for killing rhinos just to get their horn. I mean, that's just moronic. But the horn doesn't work, or whatever they use it for, and medicine and stuff, it doesn't work. It's a fantasy. It's fable, but it's killing the rhino. And the rhino keepers that are there to protect them are killing them to get that kind of money because they know what those horns go for. And that's not protecting the species. That's bringing it to extinction, which in some ways it has already. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's sick. Most people that go deer hunting, they don't do it for the money. They pay to do it. They pay to go hunting. They don't, you can't sell deer skin. It's hard to sell deer meat. Most people that have deer meat, they give it away. They don't sell it. And, it's not a money-making organization or operation. It's just helping the animals survive, helping the species survive. When they kill a rhino for the horn, they don't eat the rhino. They let it rot. They let the whole body rot. Or they take the horn and they're out of Dodge. And it's all about money. It's not about protecting the rhino. It's about protecting their pocket. So that's the difference, and that's the oxymoron, and that's the parallel and paradox of the whole situation. The one that's trying to protect the animal doesn't do it for money. They do it for the love of the animal. And I don't like these places where they bring them in, bring the people in, and they bait the deer, and they sit in deer stands and stuff, and tree stands, and they put a bait, and they just sit there and wait for the deer to come, and they shoot it. That's not very sportsmanlike, and I don't like that. But when you go out hunting, and you really go out hunting and looking for a deer to shoot, that's sportsman. That's really doing the sport the way it's supposed to be. And if you use a bow and arrow, I give you many props for doing that. It's extremely hard to shoot a deer with bow and arrow. And you want to use a scope and a rifle and shoot from miles away. It's not a bow and arrow type situation. You got to get pretty close to use a bow and arrow on them in the first place, and that's the hard part. Not hitting them with the arrow. It's getting close enough to hit them with the arrow. So. You can see I'm well-rounded, and I'm not very. I don't want to shut down everything, and a lot of the things we do in this world are good. And I don't want to get rid of that. A lot of the bad things we do are good. I don't want to get rid of that either. But the rhino thing, that I'd like to get rid of, because take the profit margin out of the horn. And they tried, they put the rhino to sleep and they cut the horn off and make it so it's useless. They don't want to kill the rhino because there's no horn. And I don't know. I don't know what kind of longevity that has. And they have a lot of those rhinos here in the United States, and only for breeding purposes. So if they do go extinct, they can repopulate them in the future. And they have the genes and the DNA and the eggs and stuff to do it. And I applaud those kind of forthgoing operations, forward thinking. But we have a lot of animals from Africa here in Texas. Texas is a big state for it. And if you want to shoot a buck of some kind, spring buck or something, you go to Texas and they have it on a property and you go kill it. Again, not very sportsmanlike. But I'm sure Africa is happy they do it because you're not going there to kill it. But in a way, Africa, a lot of the towns and the countries survive off hunting. the lodging, the food, the cost to kill an elephant, the cost to kill or whatever is very high, and people pay that price for that opportunity. And I know they get demonized, especially people that kill an elephant or something, but the economy is built around it, and like I said, it helps the animal you're killing. It helps his bloodline. It helps his species. Propagate. Elephants are bad for the environment. They knock down trees. They knock down all kinds of stuff. When you have too many of them, you end up with a desert. So killing them is not always. I mean, not everywhere, but where they're in high concentration, killing them is not always that bad. The problem with humans killing elephants is they kill the alpha female. That's bad for the herd. And they don't usually spend enough time with the herd to find out who is the alpha female and not kill it. So, but hunting can be good. And right now the mob, they were the hunters. And now they're being hunted.